Alright, Moto Maddox here, coming to you from a very different angle than I normally kind of post. I'm normally in the garage or on the bike, but I did want to come to you from my vehicle today because I'm going to do a couple videos of some, not even really auto maintenance, but mostly auto repair. I'm sitting in a Jaguar XF at the moment. It's model code, I believe it's like X250. One of the things that are notorious for these vehicles are with the coolant system, specifically a little plastic piece that's referred to as a Y pipe, and another kind of smaller plastic piece that will be referred to as a crossover pipe. If you're ever in a dealership or a repair shop and you get told that you have that issue, it's going to be a pretty significant problem for you at a pretty significant expense as well. And so, just like a lot of the automotive forums and other YouTube pages, you know, we kind of share information, and so that's what I'm going to do. I definitely leverage Jaguar forums. There were some posts on there that had lots of part breakdowns. Not too many videos, and so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of contribute that to the community. So this will probably be a two-part series just on this coolant fixed by itself. I'll break it up into two parts, removing everything and then putting everything back. So Moto Maddox Y pipe, crossover pipe, coolant repair series coming up. Alright, addressing the coolant leaks on these Jaguars. The XF, the model, the X250 model, is a pretty involved job. You see, I have parts everywhere. So this is one of those things where, while you have the intake manifold out of the way, you really want to address you know, those components that are prone to failure. So you can see down in this valley, I'm gonna replace that Y pipe. I've already removed that crossover pipe in the back. There's another like valley pipe that runs along the length of the engine from the back to the front. I'm gonna replace that. You can see this big void in the front. That's where that Y pipe and the water pump will go. I'll replace that. Replace the Serpentine belt, and what I'll do is try to get all of that stuff hooked back up. And some of these things that are in the front of the engine and some of the pipes that are on the top, I'm not replacing every single thing. So the things that I can kind of easily get access to, I'm not too worried about those. It's just mainly the stuff that's underneath this intake manifold that I'm worried about. So what I'm gonna do is unpack all these parts, do a quick inventory, make sure I have everything, then we'll get back to reinstalling these pieces, all these components. Alright, so here are all the parts that I'm replacing for this Jaguar. So the main thing is on the front of the engine, there is what's referred to as a Y pipe. You can see this thing is made of plastic. It's actually, for those who may not know, these 5.0 liter engines, Ford period, I'm quite sure was sourced from Ford. You know, they were the 5.0 Mustang engines, but kind of modified for Jaguar. So you can see this Y pipe is actually a Ford branded part. Right here at the bottom is where you can see the failure point primarily is. Let me see if I can angle this properly. So actually, let's do it this way. This is a good way to look at it. So you can see here it has a little rubber O-ring here and here, and over time you know, these parts just deteriorate. You can see the O-rings were supposed to be like this, and the other bottom part of the plastic piece, and this kind of sits down into the top of the engine. And I just believe over time the continuous cycles, you know, they just become brittle and fail. And so this was actually left down in the engine when I pulled this out. It just, you know, came apart, and so you'll get leaks here, and you won't notice it if it's a slow leak initially, because the coolant will connect in that little valley in the engine. And then if you have you know, that little bottom pan, which I'm gonna clean before I put back on, you know, if it's just dripping intermittently, you know, you won't see a puddle on the ground. So this can go on for quite a while. I finally just pulled that off, and I was able to see the drip. But if you can imagine, if you're like on the highway, you're doing 70, 80, and this thing fails and loses all of its coolant, that's going to be a problem. So this was the main piece that had failed, and it's underneath the intake manifold, so it's a challenge to get to. But while you have all that stuff off, you might as well replace some of these other components. So this is the original, well, no, actually this is my second water pump. I can't quite tell if it started failing there or not. It may have, but you know, while I have all this stuff out, I'm replacing it with a newer one, and the design is updated a bit, as they often do, particularly some of these hose connections. So this is a brand new hose that connects to the water pump, and you can see if I flip this around, I snapped off this little hose there by accident, but it's a different design. So this normally would go up to the intake manifold, but I actually cracked that piece off accidentally, so it's replaced by this. They changed the design. It's kind of hard to see it now, but I'll point it out once some of this stuff gets hooked up. But this hose now will connect there, so that's the connection point. It's a different design, so that's another thing you have to pay attention to when replacing some of these parts. This hose remains pretty much the same, but another interesting part of how this connects, I'm keeping a close eye to make sure my gaskets are remaining in place. See that little raised edge there, and this is worn. Gasket's totally worn on that one. But the water pump connects to the engine block in those two places. And then there's also a middle pipe, and you have to use this little connector. So you see I'm going to replace that with this. The other interesting thing is there's a O-ring that you have to order and replace. It's funny because my O-ring came in this big box, and so until I was ready to install, I wanted to make sure I didn't lose it, so I just left it in the box. That's the replacement O-ring. So replacement O-rings, this little plastic connector piece, it goes onto the water pump, and then when you install the water pump back on the car, it has those 3 different connections. And the other thing is there's also a crossover pipe in the back of the engine, and that's this. This thing is so much of a pain to get to. Let me see, the front of it doesn't look like it's in that bad of a shape, but you can see kind of up here in this corner it started cracking and separating. And this is really difficult to get to. I was gonna just replace it with another just regular OEM plastic piece, but I decided to just try to dig around, and so there's a few manufacturers that make a replacement part for it that's metal. And so even if I have to pull that intake off again in another 50,000 miles, I do not want to be crawling all in the engine just to get to the back of this piece to replace it. So I'm hoping that they did a good job machining this metal piece and it can stand up to, you know, those temperature cycles and duty cycles of a coolant component buried in the engine much better than this plastic. So I'm going to replace that. And then a couple hoses, you know, while I'm at it. This is kind of toward the back of the motor. This actually, the coupling is here, so it connects there. And then I have another hose that I purchased to replace this one, but unfortunately, and I did get another expansion tank because I didn't think the tank had an issue, but I just wanted to have a fresh sensor because I was getting a low coolant sensor, and I just want to make sure that that's replaced. Move this tank out of the way. Unfortunately, the hose that I thought would be a direct replacement for this, it's not quite. It is not quite the same, so I may have to, I may just try to go to the parts store and get some hose, because I really don't want to put this old one back on. Even though it doesn't look like it's having any issues, I would just rather have a new hose. So I'm gonna have to think about how best to do that, because as you can see, this is not a perfect replacement. You know, in the picture it's kind of hard to tell. I thought I had matched up the part numbers, but this one might be for like the supercharged version of the engine, or a slightly different model year, or a slightly different Land Rover piece, so it's kind of a pain. And the map sensor, I'm going to replace that on the front of the intake manifold. A couple filters, so lots of different pieces. Shout out to Jaguar forums. There was a lot of posts about this, and one guy, and I'll do an overlay, did an excellent job of really identifying all the different components that he used personally. It's not going to be the same for everybody's vehicle. I believe he had a supercharged engine, or maybe even, you know, some of the V6 components are kind of interchangeable, but it did kind of help get a visual of what would be needed. But I finally got most of these parts. I just need to think a little bit about what I'm going to do, because this is the first thing that's going back on. I'm going to work my way from the back of the motor to the front. So replace this, and then the water pump will be next, and then I'll the wire pipe or the water pump. I'll probably do the wire pipe first, but then, you know, slowly start building the system back up. But I'm gonna take a few moments and think about what I'm gonna do with this connection. It seems like it may stretch, but I have to be for sure. But yeah, lots of different pieces. All right, so my first little hiccup. This is the replacement hose I purchased, and you know, it came folded up like a pretzel. So I didn't immediately notice this, but you can see that the initial set of bends are pretty close, but the length is not right. Like this is the back, this is going to be at the back of the engine, and it has to go all the way around the front and connect to the top of the intake manifold. So that is not the right length. I'm so tempted to just reuse the old hose that I took off. It doesn't look like it's in that bad shape, but I mean, it's such a pain to get to this thing. I think I'm gonna just go to the store and get appears to be like a 14mm hose, and the diameter is about 7. So I think I'm gonna just try to get me some 7/8 in the diameter, 14 outer diameter. Yeah, I think I'm gonna just go try to run to the store and parts store, see if I can't get some hose. You know, it won't have all the bends in it, but that's fine. I'd rather have a brand new hose. So minor setback, but just wanted to show that it's almost, see, almost there. But this is probably for the, this was probably for the six cylinder, just because of the length. Yeah, so just got back from the parts store, and they did not have exactly what I was looking for. You know, they had like fuel line and a line of different sizes, and I don't want to gamble with that, so I'm gonna trust this line that came off of the original crossover pipe. I want to trust this line more than that aftermarket part, just kind of generic parts store stuff. Did use the newer fitting that came from the new hose. Yeah, I'm gonna trust that more. And then this connects here. And get that situated. So just wanted to make sure that that was connected properly. We have the O-rings here, and look, like these, I mean, this, the rubber on the original is just destroyed. At least this one, you can see there's a raised kind of lip there. So I'm just going to double check, make sure that this fits right, and I have the hose on the right way. And get this installed back on the car. Hose connection. Dry fit, make sure things of these connects to the back of the intake manifold, and I believe this one. Whoa, these look the same. Shit. Like that one has a little bit of that tape left on it. So this was at the back of the intake manifold, and this one connects to the crossover pipe. I wasn't paying attention, but these connections are exactly the damn same. Oh, that would be such a pain if connected them wrong. But yeah, this one is gonna connect to my crossover pipe there. So I'm almost ready to connect that, but I do want to, before I do that, I do want to make sure this harness is nice and protected. I don't want to be back here again. So I have some of this, this wire harness tape here, because it seems like, you know, they half-assed did this one. There's still some wires exposed, so I'm gonna fully wrap the rest of this wire, make sure it's covered. Then I'm gonna hook that heater pipe up. If this didn't have the like tape residue that I vividly recall taking off from being connected in the back of the intake manifold, I would be pretty confused about these two connectors, because they're literally the same, but this one goes in that crossover pipe. I should replace this little thing here too, but I don't think that's not. Yeah, I'm just making sure I don't have to. Anything that's underneath this intake manifold is what I'm concentrating on. Like if I have to come back in with this little flimsy plastic vacuum line that seems to be on top of everything that's problematic. And I see how dirty these ports are. So I'm gonna try to clean those up so I have a really good clean surface to work with. Yeah, there's another thing. So I did go and buy this little micro ratchet set to kind of get be able to attach that crossover pipe all while it's up against the firewall in the back of the engine. But this was super difficult. So what I did was get this 90-degree, I forgot what the name of this called. It's like a right angle adapter tool. So I'm hoping that I can get this positioned. Once I get the screws started, I can use this to torque them down, to make my life easier. Otherwise, it's just a lot of twisting with that little micro ratchet to get it installed. So I'm gonna try to see if this tool will help me out. So we have that connection to the crossover pipe. I'm trying to start all of the different screws. Let me see if I can get my tool. So it's kind of hard to see, but my little tool is allowing me to tighten this. At least the inner one. So you can see this adapter, and I'm twisting it. So that's good. Alright, so the right side is mostly torqued down. You can see the bolts are fully in, so I just need to come on this other side. And tighten the bolts down on that driver's side, but the passenger side is tight. I'll test the torque a little bit again before I connect the little electrical connection on that side, but then we will be making our way toward the front of this engine. Yeah, for my cleaning this maintenance surface, all I'm using is just a microfiber rag and water. See if I can't get this grime from around these surfaces. Yeah, it's dirty. So much dust has accumulated. Alright, trying to prepare the water pump. So this little piece I want to install first. So I'll put a little bit of coolant. Kind of get this going. Looks good, and there's a little cutout here. It's kind of hard to see where this is flat. along that edge, and that seems to coincide directly with that piece there. So hopefully we won't have too many issues putting this on. So try to back these screws out a little bit so that I can plug it in flush and then connect it. Alright, so water pump is going on next. Make sure I torque these properly. Calls for about 8 foot-pounds. So I'm gonna start hooking up some of these connectors. Alright, it is Y pipe time. Alright, so I have the Y pipe in. I bought a new connector here, and one of the reasons is that Jaguar updated the design. So there's this, you see this little bypass valve here that connects directly to the water pump. This wasn't on the last version. There was actually a rigid hose that went right up to the throttle body, so Jaguar has changed that, so now it's just kind of connector. So this should, yeah, just go in there like so. Alright, so now things are starting to shape up. This hose goes here. I'm not gonna put that on yet. So yeah, why don't we put the belt back on. I did want to spray some of this down with some cleaner, but I'm trying to get this thing buttoned back up, so no detail in the front of the engine just yet. Alright, so we have a new water pump, serpentine belt, brand new Y pipe, and also a crossover pipe in the back that's metal. So next thing is to get this intake manifold installed. So going to replace all 8 gaskets. Then we have some new hose connections and fittings that need to be put on. Then we should be able to plug this thing back in. Then try to fill it with coolant, do a test. We are almost there. Alright, so this is the underside of the intake manifold. I've already pulled the gaskets off, so I'm going to replace all 8 gaskets. Clean this up a little bit more. Already wipe down some components, but I want to clean this up just a little bit. So we have that electrical connection. See a little vacuum line there. Another vacuum line here. Almost ready. So this piece has been replaced. This doesn't go to the this doesn't connect to the intake anymore, or connect to directly to the system. It's actually blocked off. You can't really see it, but this little piece is a dummy piece. It's blocked off. So let's go ahead and break this loose, this clamp loose. So this is another set of vacuum lines. This is the one that came off of the vehicle. This is a replacement one. So try to remember how this goes. This goes here. And then we're going to connect somewhere. So I think we are almost ready to go. Couple connectors. We need to do the max. I think we are almost ready to connect this. Goodness gracious. So that hose that runs all the way from the back to the front. Came out right at the right spot and connects to my manifold. Alright, so I'm just making sure that I have all the right connections. So that goes there. This goes there. Here's my connection here. Those are the two intake plenums. My fuel lines. Make sure I get those connected back. Alright, I'm gonna double check my pictures. Start connecting some of my components. So this goes in. That's connected. Alright, so we have finally finished the job. Well, for the most part. Doing a pressure test. I did forget to connect a hose, so I spilled a bunch of coolant. On a brand new belt, but seems to be holding steady. Holding steady exactly at 14 psi. So I'm ready to start this bad boy up. Check my fuel lines. Listen, make sure I don't hear anything too crazy. So let me go ahead and break the pressure on the system. Yeah, this little tool works really well. I don't expect to do this all the time, but for this particular job, it's nice to have a little peace of mind before cranking this thing up and taking it for a little ride.